might not be the best person to talk about women's issues in comics, and that's part of why I invited Sarah here to talk about not just the Harley Quinn character, but about larger women's issues in cosplay and in comics in general.
Harley was initially only supposed to be a one-shot character. She was introduced in the animated series to just kind of break up the monotony in Joker's henchmen group, but she wasn't actually planned as a reoccurring character. Bruce Timm and Paul Dini were like, okay, well, let's give her another shot, and they released another episode with her, and the audience ate it up, and they eventually created the Mad Love comic to give her a backstory to help keep her going in the animated series.
Harley Quinn's character was originally developed as a strong female character, at least in my opinion. She had a good arc in Batman the Animated Series. She went from a person who was a professional who got into a relationship with a dangerous psychotic person, a master manipulator, an abuser, and then it ended up, by the end of the series, defining herself as her own anti-hero. It was probably one of the most solid arcs in that whole series, and really impressive. But in her depiction outside of comics, at least, publicly, she's gradually been reduced more and more, partially possibly because of her appeal, but down from a character that was really independent on her own, and really interesting in her own right, into Suicide Squad, basically a stripper with a baseball bat.
A lot of people, especially online, say, I want a relationship like Joker and Harley. And this is really problematic because their relationship is abusive and terrible, and it's shown that way in the animated series. It was never meant to be something for people to look up to. He pushes her out of a window that is multiple stories. In her current comics, Harley is her own independent, self-sufficient character. She takes care of herself. She understands that the relationship that she has with Joker is awful, and the new Suicide Squad movie basically takes that away from her and makes it so there's this new reoccurring wave of people who want this relationship that Joker and Harley have, and it's not healthy. A lot of people ask me, well, what's your favorite incarnation of Harley? And I always say classic Harley because that's the Harley that I grew up with. However, I adore what the writers are doing in her solo comic. She, in her solo comic, is a self-sufficient, do-it-all-herself woman, except she doesn't always do it all on her own. She got a gang of mostly women to help her out, which is awesome. But I love the fact that they have made it so she is no longer dependent on any one particular character. She is just dependent on herself. I love where they're going in this comic, and I really hope that in future film incarnations, they kind of follow that.
I understand that in the current comic, Harley states that she's wearing what she wants to wear because she wants to wear it. Part of me feels very good about that. Young women should be comfortable with their own bodies, and they should have characters that are showing them that. On the other hand, is it really okay that a character is down with their own exploitation if they're being exploited? I don't know. I think that's up for an individual reader to decide. I know that her costume was partially influenced by Debbie Harry, but that's just because you're doing an homage to a famous female punk artist doesn't mean that you're actually creating a feminist character at all.
And I get, like, with the new Suicide Squad costume, yes, it's an homage. It's not really the character's fault so much as it is the people behind the character. I mean, it's the people directing this movie who chose to make it so there was focus on her pulling her shirt down slowly when she was getting dressed in a group full of people and everyone was staring at her and sexualizing her because of it. And it's the people directing it that chose to focus on her assets.
I feel like in a lot of cases it's only a show of laziness on the part of a writer or artist in comics to appeal to the baser, more sexually exploitive side of a female character in comics in 2016. It doesn't make any sense. There's already a plethora of highly sexualized and sexually independent female characters, not just in the Bat mythos, but in comics in general. There's precious few strong female characters that aren't, where their sexuality isn't primarily foregrounded or outright exploited. I feel like the camera was entirely subjectively like a male gaze, at least in the trailers. And especially in the trailers.
It was through the whole movie. Like, did you see the movie?
Nope.
Okay. They didn't do that to Katana. They didn't, well, okay, Enchantress, I can't really say anything about because her costume was sexualized as well. But it's less that the character herself had this issue and more that the people who made this movie decided that it was okay to take a super strong character and turn her into this and over-sexualize her when it was completely unnecessary. I went in wanting to like it. I was like, no, this is a movie. This is like the second time that my character has ever had a chance to be shown in, like, on a live screen. It's basically the people who are deciding to make this movie who are choosing the camera shots and the camera angles.
Right.
And it's not even just in the Suicide Squad or not even just in comic movies. It's how women are focused on in so many other movies that exist. I mean, if you look at the newest Star Wars, Force Awakens, that doesn't happen to Rey. Rey is not sexualized at all. And she's just shown as a strong, independent character. And
even when you have, like, a flirtation with the concept of there being some sort of romance between her and John Boyega, none of it's sexualized.
Exactly.
That's a great point.
Between the sexualization of her and the labeling of property. I mean, the back of her jacket literally says property of Joker. She wears a choker that says Puddin', and the thing that made me the most
upset... A choker?
Upset,
that's even... Ugh!
Like, I don't mind the choker, but the fact that it says Puddin'... But the thing that got me the most is they did show her classic costume for a couple split seconds. And instead of it being the actual classic costume, the zipper was on the front, and it had this giant gold J off of the zipper. And it's like, do you really need to label her as property of this man in every single shot that she exists in? Because that's not okay!
That is it for this week. That's the Doomcast. Harley Quinn, a fantastic character that's incredibly inventive and super popular, but just deserves a lot better than what she's getting on camera currently. Thanks, Sarah, for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
What's the next con you're going to be at?
The next con I'll be at is Midwest Comic Con in November.
Awesome. As will we. Thank you very much. We'll see you next week.